Many Nigerians have condemned the federal government's decision to ban children below 18 years from sitting for the West African Senior School Certificate Examination and the National Examination Council, describing it as a backward education policy. Now, for some, the 18-year cutoff age to write WASSCE or NECO in Nigeria, students below the stipulated age can choose to write the international exams and forget about local examinations, noting that students from poor homes would suffer the outcome of this policy the most. Well, joining me in the studio to discuss this is Amechi Asugwuni. He, of course, is the former deputy president of the NLC and the industrial and labor relations expert. He joins me live in the studio. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Welcome, Dr.
All right. Let me start off with an open question. What do you make of this policy, even though we know that the position of the government as regards this is that some level of maturity is required, particularly from the student before entering that phase of their lives, the tertiary institution?
When we talk of policy, policy tend to heal, policy tend to enhance, policy making for organization and for government is targeted to guide behavior. No policy is made to actually traumatize. Policies are not made to bring confusion to where we already have peace. And you can't make policy from top bottom when you talk of education structure. Because when you refer to age, you are talking about the structure of education in Nigeria. So the policy on arrival is dented. It is coming with a lot of attack on the children. You have said these are minor, and you have just made a policy against the vision of these children without them knowing. Do you know that most of the children are still not aware of the negative impact of the policy as we speak? Government did not spend time, they did not spend resources to carry out orientation, to even consult with the educationist. You don't make such policy by being a minister of education. Never. You need to ask yourself, we have had challenges in the past. How was education structure reformed? And how do we go about bringing maturity before entrance to university? Is it to say it should start next year? Is that the policy? So what has happened over 50 years in the same country? Do we have any security issue that is traced?
So are you saying that the age limit is not appropriate? Is that what you're driving at?
No, what I'm saying, it's not. There's what they call urgent and important in policy making.
Okay.
In this case, it looks important what they're saying, but it's not a priority. It's not a priority to bring that distortion to the program career of students. Do you know that in this country, average Nigeria have their children in private schools? No matter how small you target the private school, they still have most Nigerian children in private schools. And in these private schools, most of the children we have today already have the age expectation of 15, 16 to exit secondary school. So you have come to announce a policy that in the next year, you will graduate, but no exam. It's like telling me that you are in this class, but at the end of this class, you will not write any exam. Do you know the defeat you have brought to the intelligence of those children? That is why no school has announced it to the children. No school has announced this policy to the student. And even when some students have approached the authority of their school to ask, they tell them no information yet.
So for you, the announcement or the implementation process is faulty, and not the fact that 18 years is too old.
No, I'm not fighting the age.
Okay.
After all, most advanced countries, they practice similar culture of allowing some maturity before you get into university. But the question is, what has happened? Policies are not done overnight. Policies as a result of reform process. Something must give birth to something. Let me tell you, in Lagos State, for example, there is a policy on admission to secondary school. If you have made a policy for all schools in Lagos that no child should be less than 10 years upon admission into secondary school. And schools have complied to make that same decision of admission this year, 2024. So the same children that you are putting on the line on admission into school this year, you're already giving them an advance notice that in the next 6 years, you'll be 16, but you'll be at home for 2 years before you can write your exam. That is dangerous. That is anti-people. That policy is not friendly with students. It's against the people. And do you know why reactions have not started? And some of us would make that reaction to go viral. Because if people are not sensitized, if you're not aware of the consequences that are waiting in the next 4 years, you will not join those that is affected next year. When government tells you that it starts next year, people who don't have their children writing exam next year will tell you it's not their business. But I tell you, this policy, what it has come to tell us in Nigeria is that a child in primary 1 today stands to suffer this punishment in 12 years' time. So they have made a policy that will leave the sitting president and the suffering will continue on the people. It shouldn't stand.
All right, now
there should be a corresponding review. You can't make policy from the top in the education structure. You start from the bottom. Policy should be telling us today that you cannot be in primary 1 unless you are 5 years old. That is the targeted to becoming 18 in secondary school SS3. You can't just come and make a policy against the one that has already succeeded. Children that are leaving school, and look at the funny thing they have said, that you will not even write the WASSCE. Tell me the wisdom in telling a child who gained admission into JS1 that in 6 years' time, we will hold you hostage, we will deny you access to exam, we will deprive you from performing to succeed. So you go home to become what? You lose the value, the intelligence that you have built over years for 6 years. The only test that qualifies a child to actually ascend further in education or in any career is that you have finished secondary school with a certificate. Now you are saying at that age of being in SS3, you will not get access to examination.
Now, let's
that is not progressive.
Okay, now let's look at the policy in itself and the concerns of some individuals, particularly as regards the age. Some have said that, look, 18 years is pretty too old. While some have even argued that, maturity is not even a function of age, that there are some individuals who are exceptionally brilliant, from 14, 15, they already have, the Einstein brain, for instance. And this policy just stalls them and places them, at, will I call it, an unnecessary waiting period. And there you have a talent wasting away. What do you make of that?
For me, from the analysis point of view, the age bracket between 16 and 18 is immaterial. Because don't forget, most of the children are in boarding schools. Most of the children you think that they are not mature to enter university are in boarding school. Already, they have learned the independency to stay alone. No teacher sleep with them in their room. It's the same hostel plan. So the policy I expect from government is to strengthen the hostel program in such that guidance are more or less, wherever you have 50 students, you should have certain number of guidance that provide leadership and mentorship to these students because of their age. You focus on how to protect the young who is smart to breaking the Guinness record, as they may say. When you have a child, people are targeting to graduate at 18. People are targeting to have a first child who will have first class, a BSc first class holder at 18. Nigeria should be giving such person an award. Do you know that it is better to have children who are younger in university when they learn little of immorality than to have a matured person who believes in the same cultism before assessing admission? So we're talking, where is the skill of the intelligence in actually managing crime in university? Tender age is lesser to control even cultism and all the rest, other vices in school when they are younger. Teenagers think less of immoral act than the adult. And now you're saying, come back home at 16. We want you to be ready to carry gun before you can enter school.
But many
so for me, they have not programmed the benefit of the student in the policy. They have only programmed the imagination of a man who just woke up and say, what a minute. It's like a policy that is born out of a beer parlor, and somebody just said, tomorrow I'll issue out a notice. Without recourse to what they call policy implementation procedure. They didn't follow it. There is persuasion in policy implementation. There is bottom-top in policy implementation. They didn't do any of this. There is consultation in policy implementation. They didn't do this. Because every policy expects resistance. Such resistance may be positive. Such resistance may be resistiveness as a result of people who benefit from the wrong.
All right.
But in this case, we are trying to provide coverage for those that have no voice, who are the children.
All right. We need to go on a quick break. When we return, of course, we'll be looking at the ripple or domino effect of this policy should it eventually kick off, particularly on students. Stay with us. Many thanks for staying with us. This is still Politics HQ on New Central Television, and we're examining the recent directive by the federal government that children or students under 18 should not write the WASSCE and NECO exams. I still have with me my guest, Mr. Asugwuni. Thank you for your time. Now, just before we wrap up, let's assume that this policy kicks off. A child writes the WASSCE exam or the NECO exam at 18, maybe doesn't make it at the first sitting, takes it about maybe 2 times, and then gets into school by, say, 2021. And is meant to do maybe a 6-year course, as it were, coupled with ASU strike. By the time this happens, the child is leaving school, say maybe within the age of 28, 30. He goes out to apply for a job, and they say the age limit is 25 years. How does this, or how do you see this particular scenario, for instance, impacting particularly on the quality, number one, of graduates, and its also impact on the job market and job search?
As we speak now, most employers in the private sector are targeting the youngest. And that the essence is you get the best from the young. Because these are people that are not married yet, and the employers believe that marriage itself comes with responsibility that negates strength. And for such, every employer needs age bracket of 22 to 25 for employment. In fact, they make it a yardstick for gaining those jobs. I tell you, when you impose this age of 18 on children, what it means is that you write exam of WASSCE at 18. You may not take your JAMB that year because you are yet to get your result. So you're taking your JAMB at 19. So by the time you take your JAMB at 19, you are likely to gain admission at 20, depending on how your result moves. And if at 20 you are in university and you are reading law or medicine, courses that will take, even engineering, take you 5-6 years. So you'll be graduating at 27. And by the time you are coming out, you need to go to, for example, in law, you do law school. In other cases, you must serve. So going to youth service, you come out to look for a job at 28, 29. In the case of women, people always tell you once you're getting to 30, you need to settle down, you need to marry. So what is the plan? What is the plan advantage on this policy? So I tell you, because if you get into university, graduate at 27, 28, finish your service and eventually looking for a job at that age, you are almost looking or going into aspiring time in the market industry when people are seeing you as not to even call you a youth any longer because you are looking like an advanced man even when you have not had your first experience. Don't forget, when you go to look for a job, they tell you minimum experience of 5 years. So how do you generate experience while you are still in school? So the earlier we get people graduated, better to get them secured in those sectors. You know what is happening to this country? They don't have value to employment. Employment are not being traded with productivity. Otherwise, you will know the strength of youth when we talk about impute. When anybody who makes impute that does not correspond with the output expected for the income, organizations like that don't progress. This very policy, for me, parents will challenge it in court because it's an infringement on student right to study. There's already a policy in Lagos State, for example, that parents and schools have already obeyed. Bringing a counter policy to unseat this is going to impend danger. And we'll do everything possible to bring it to the knowledge of the president, to call the minister to order, to do a review. May not necessarily be a reversal, but a review that will not even suffer any child to stay home in a year.
Mr. Amechi Asugwuni, a former Deputy President NLC and also an industrial and labor relations expert. Thank you for your time on the program.
You're welcome, Dr.
All right. Well, that's the beat we can take on today's show. In case you missed out, you can actually catch up on our YouTube platform. That's News Central TV. You can also follow us across social media at News Central TV. You can follow me personally at Dakwadiboye. Until I come your way again, bye for now.